Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the most positive podcast in the universe, David Essel Alive, helping Americans heal, celebrating 35 years on the air as a syndicated TV, radio, podcast host, international #1 best-selling author, counselor, executive coach, and more. But today it's not about me. It's about the NBA. It's about Ja Morant, one of the most incredible stars that the NBA has ever seen. A young kid, 19, 20 years of age, in serious trouble again. You know, I am a basketball junkie, as many of you know, and I've been doing this work for a very long time. Played a couple years, Division I at Syracuse. It's in my blood. I stay up way too late watching the playoffs. I always do. Whenever playoff time comes, I shatter my own self-care. I'm going to admit it. As a counselor, I have a serious attraction. I won't say addiction. I have a serious attraction to the NBA, to college basketball. I'm a basketball junkie. I always will be. And so that's why I'm doing this podcast on Ja Morant. Probably one of the most exciting new players to come into the league in years. I can't remember the last NBA rookie that came out the way he has. I can't remember the last kid so young that has so much talent, so exciting, so jaw-dropping in his moves, and once again, making a major error that could not only possibly derail, but end his NBA career. I am doing interviews today with different media outlets on this very instance because for the second time in just a few months, Ja Morant posted Instagram live videos with him with a gun in his hand, riding with who I will say his homies, listening to music with a gun in his hand. This is an NBA superstar being paid millions upon millions of dollars a year with a fan base that probably exceeds 10 million individuals, many of them young athletes, 13, 14, highly impressionable by individuals like Ja Morant. A couple months ago, he was doing the same thing on Instagram with a gun in his hand. Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner, contacted him directly. He said during an interview, I looked into his eyes and told him the seriousness of this. We're giving him an 8-game non-paid suspension, which Adam Silver at the time said is an extremely tough move on our part, but we want to get your attention so this never happens again. And he said Ja Morant looked at him back in the eyes and he believed the lies that Ja Morant said next, that this would never happen again. And just a short while later, it's happened again. This reminds me of the former almost all-pro quarterback Johnny Manziel. I don't know what Johnny is doing these days. I hope he's clean and sober. Who was drafted at the top in the NFL pick, expected to be one of the top quarterbacks to ever hit the NFL, and he never did make it. Because like Ja Morant, his off-field tactics or activities were in the exact opposite direction of NFL policies. And he created all kinds of hell with girlfriends getting in trouble, with drinking getting in trouble, and they didn't know what to do with him. They had signed him to a multi-million-dollar contract. We're talking Johnny Manziel in football a number of years ago. No different than Ja Morant in basketball. Johnny Manziel was young, out of college, given millions upon millions of dollars. And eventually, they actually got him a mentor, which I'm going to talk about with Ja Morant right now. They got Johnny Manziel a mentor. And it did not make a difference because Johnny Manziel did not have the emotional coping skills, the emotional maturity to even do what's correct when he had a mentor traveling with him. Now that's Johnny Manziel. Is Ja Morant the same type of athlete? Is he that arrogant? Does he feel above the law, as he has shown now 2 times on Instagram videos? That he doesn't care what Adam Silver, or he doesn't care what the Memphis Grizzlies pay him. He doesn't care what the fans think of him. Is he so self-centered with his multi-trillion-dollar contract that he feels above God? That he feels above anyone? That he has no one to answer to? That he can do whatever he wants? Now let's back up. How do we get into this situation? Should the NBA go back to its old practices of not allowing, when I played, not in the NBA, in college, when I played in college, there was no college player going to the NBA until they had completed 4 years, if I remember correctly. Should we go back to those principles? In John Morant's case, the answer is 100% yes. He needed those 4 years in college to understand discipline, to understand respecting authority. He does not have any respect for authority whatsoever through his actions. I don't know John Morant. I can only tell someone's actions, what they're saying to the world. He has no respect for anyone. And as a 19-year-old walking into millions of dollars, walking into all the women he could ever dream, wanting, having, experiencing, wanting his gang, and I don't necessarily just mean that as a street gang. It can be his homie, his group, his whatever you want to, his tribe, use whatever word you want to use. Is it more important for him to impress them with his money and his balls to wave a gun for the second time after being suspended for 8 games and putting his team at peril during the season because they depended upon him so much, because they paid him so much money? It doesn't matter to him. Will his recent apology mean a damn thing? I'm going to say no. I'm not anti-John Morant. First of all, let me just tell you that. I am quite the opposite. I am pro-John Morant. But I hope the NBA is going to wake their butts up and realize that if they don't come down with an extremely serious boundary and consequence with this young man, that they are setting an example for the rest of the league to do whatever the hell they want. The NBA has a lot on its shoulders right now. Adam Silver has a lot on his shoulders right now. The owner of the Grizzlies, a lot on his shoulders. The coach, a lot on his shoulders. And the players of the team have a lot on their shoulders. Because if they embrace him coming off of this action, the players on the Memphis Grizzlies are as much at fault as John Morant is. If Adam Silver doesn't pull the most incredible consequence, it is on his shoulders. If the Memphis Grizzlies don't pull an immense consequence, it is on their shoulders. So now it is not just John Morant who has to answer to the bell of integrity. It's the NBA and Adam Silver. It's the owner of the Memphis Grizzlies. It's the coach of the Grizzlies. It's the players of the Grizzlies. Because if they don't stand up against someone they probably love more than anything, there is no hope for John Morant. And he may turn into a Johnny Manziel, who leaves the sport so early and stays in his own world of self-centered addiction. And right now, with John Morant, his addiction is his lack of mental maturity. And now let me back up as a counselor and say something to you. And I'm going to give you a solution. I'm giving the NBA a solution. If John Morant sees this interview, hey, I love you, John. I think your game is amazing, but I think you really need a lot of help. The number one thing that needs to be done, in my opinion, is that there needs to be a 6-month suspension without pay to John Morant. 8-game suspension without pay didn't do anything. So I think there needs to be a really hard-ass line being drawn here as a way to get his attention. I would say that he's not allowed at practices for 6 months. I would say that he's not allowed at team meetings for 6 months. Yeah, it sounds like I'm isolating him, and I am. But let me tell you the second part of the equation. For those 6 months, He needs to be working with professionals 5 to 6 days a week, not for half an hour, but for as long as it takes to get to the origin of his dysfunction. Who's he trying to impress? Who were his role models that showed him that this is okay? What do we need to do with such a young man with a lack of emotional maturity in order to help him gain his maturity? And I think the consequences that I'm sharing right now are absolutely classic, and I believe they would work, unless John Morant doesn't want to do the work. And then if he doesn't want to change, if he wants to stay in his self-centered world where he feels above God, above Adam Silver, above the Memphis Grizzlies, and above his fans are paying his salary. His fans should be pissed off at him. And yet many fans are very codependent to their stars. And they will justify and rationalize and defend his obnoxious mistakes. It's not a mistake. It's mistakes. So as fans of the Memphis Grizzlies, I ask you to go deep down inside. Would you accept this behavior from your son or daughter? Would you tell them it's okay for them to break every rule that has been put in front of them? And if you would, then you're one of the most codependent fans of John Morant there could ever be. I believe he needs one-on-one attention, like Johnny Manziel that got the mentor that followed him all around. I believe John Morant needs that. Whether he wants it or not is irrelevant. I believe he needs that guidance. Do you know that the average brain of a young man does not mature until the age of 24 or 25? The average age of a young woman's maturity level of her brain is around 20 to 22. But throw that all out the window when you're being paid hundreds of millions of dollars of years and you're 19 years of age because you feel invincible. You feel untouchable. You are looking around at the print and the magazine covers and the highlight reels, and you're looking at yourself above and beyond rules and regulations. And I say that because this is now a pattern with John Morant. You know, one time someone does something ignorant as a young man with this much responsibility and this much money, you can say, okay, 8-game suspension without pay, that's enough. It wasn't enough for John Morant. And it may never be enough for John Morant. I pray to God that the NBA, and we are going to send this to them, trust me, that they will awaken, that there are steps to take that could actually save his life. Save the life of those people around him. Who knows what could have happened with that gun in the car? It could have gone off accidentally, or it could have gone off on purpose. And he could be dead or wounded or someone else. This isn't something to mess around with. This is something to take very seriously. If we can get the right boundaries and consequences with this young man, we can turn him around completely and allow him to be the superstar that he's meant to be and to thrill audiences all over the world without the nonsense, without the insanity that we've seen from John Morant recently. Mr. Adam Silver, as you watch this, I hope you'll take my word seriously. To the owner and the coach and the players of the Memphis Grizzlies, I know you're going to see this video. I hope you'll take it seriously. And because I was a former athlete and in the world of psychology for 43 years, I am available to work with John Morant one-on-one. I know the mindset of an athlete. My master's degree, sports psychology, exercise physiology. I understand the world of counseling, of therapy, of boundaries, of consequences. I know the power of origin in dysfunction, which means we go back in time with John Morant and find out where it is that he received this message. It was okay to do what he's doing above and beyond the law, above and beyond the rules of the NBA. I would be more than willing to help him reach his potential in life as a true NBA star, but more importantly, as a true, compassionate role model for the millions upon millions of children and adults that are wowed by his athleticism, like I am. I am a huge fan of his athletic abilities. I am a zero fan in regards to the action he's taken, but I am also one of those people that say, Ja Morant, as you watch me stare directly into your eyes on this video, I am here for you, and I will help you. Reach out to me at talkdavid.com. Adam Silver, reach out to me at talkdavid.com. To the owner and coach of the Memphis Grizzlies, reach out to me at talkdavid.com. To the players of the Memphis Grizzlies that are unsure of what to do, reach out to me at talkdavid.com. I am actually in your corner, wanting solution. I want Ja Morant to have 20 more years of stellar NBA play, but it will never happen until everything changes. You are tuned in to the most positive, proactive podcast in the freaking universe. David Essel Alive, helping Americans heal. And today, helping the NBA, the Memphis Grizzlies, and especially Ja Morant heal. And this is good news with David Essel.